Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Monday to all those that are joining us today. Welcome to Adobe Live. My name is James Bonanno, and I am so excited to be here for the fourth week in a row with the last weekly creative challenge for motion inside of Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects. Before we get things going, I just want to welcome everyone to the chat. Sean, Beverly, Robert, Jan, the whole gang is here. Patrick, hello. It's so wonderful to have everyone here in the community on Behance and on YouTube. Now I know this is the last, oops, yep, there we go. This is the last installment of the week, but for those that are new to this sort of format, make sure to comment and ask any questions that you have here on Behance, and then this video will be available as a replayable version over on the Adobe Live YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out as well. The link below in the description should have the starter files for what I'll be working on today inside of mostly After Effects and then into Premiere Pro a little bit. But if for some reason that link is giving you issues, it should be updated on the YouTube version as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy these next 25, almost 30 minutes of me going through what we're working on today. So with that being said, let's just make sure everyone can hear me. We're sounding good. Adobe Bonanno crew is here. It's nice to be back. I know we had a couple little issues last week just with my stream on that end. So today, I think we're good to go. All right, so why don't we hop over to Premiere first. And I just want to break down what we're going to be talking about today. So Mogurts are such a powerful tool to really amplify your finished video. So today, we're not going to be going over necessarily how to edit an Instagram reel from scratch, but what we are going to talk about is how to create something like this here in After Effects. So if I play this back, we have a very simple little title and a graphic that can be used to spice up our videos, to come in and engage that viewer. You can see that there's a really nice little like subtle sort of wiggly shake, cool effect on our text, and a very simple just animation with two different text layers and then our background. Okay, so the entire idea today is to show you how to create this inside of After Effects, solo the properties so we can create a mogrt, or if you're new to After Effects and Premiere, a motion graphics template, okay? And then basically decide what properties in that text we want to then continue to edit inside of Premiere Pro. So if I open Premiere Pro back up and we go to our Essential Graphics panel and we go to Browse, you can see that in here, the first week, if you remember, we talked about a lot of the templates that are already created inside of Premiere with your Creative Cloud subscription. But today we're going to be creating custom ones so that we can use them and continue to customize them in the future. Okay, so I'm going to try to get through this with all the time that I have today. And let me make sure everything is looking good. And yeah, Mogurts are the best. Beverly, I completely agree. I use them all the time. They're a great way to stay consistent in your brand, in your work, and just have a lot of fun with not having to be bogged down with creating something from scratch every time. But in today's video, we're creating stuff from scratch. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to create this, create it as a mogrt, export that template into Premiere Pro to use in your future videos. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, Command-N, that's gonna create a new composition window. Okay, I'm gonna set this actually to 1080 by 1920. We were in a 4K resolution. We're gonna call this mogrt Adobe Live, okay? And I'm just gonna set this to like 10 seconds, okay? You can set it to whatever you want and press okay. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is add my text. I'm going to close this Essential Graphics panel for now so we have a little bit more room on our window here. And let's just delete this text. And we're just going to call this tip. That is enormous. So we are going to take this down to, let's say, 200. Okay, and we're going to duplicate Command-D. I'm on a Mac, so yours would be Control if you're on a PC. Drag this down, and let's just call this 1 if I knew how to type. It's a little cold in my office today, so that's what we're dealing with. All right, and I'm just gonna line these up first to where I sort of want them. Okay, so I'm holding Shift. You can see up here in the window, I have my snapping features turned on so that these guys will snap sort of close together. All right, and I wanna double click this little anchor point window so I can center my anchor point here inside of my text. All right, and so that's all we're gonna do to sort of line them up. All right, let's just move this down. All right, so if we go back to this version here, the first thing I want to do is create this really cool like wiggle effect, okay? And this is something that if you don't want to have to do it a lot of times, creating a mogrt first and then bringing it into Premiere, if you forget how to do it, you can just use your motion graphics template and then adjust the text and the color and the size and all that. So the first thing we're going to do is create a solid. All right, so we're going to add a solid layer above all this. It doesn't really matter the color you select, and you'll see why in a minute. All right, we're going to go over to our effects window, and we're going to type in fractal noise, okay? So it doesn't really matter the color because this fractal noise is just creating those black and white situations. Nothing is happening just by adding that effect, okay? So the first thing we have to do, bear with me, this is like a little bit, I don't want to say advanced After Effects, but again, if you don't remember how to do this, watch this stream, save it, and then you'll save your mogrt, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go under here to the effects window, and you're going to go to evolution options, and where it says random seed, you're going to click the little stopwatch and then press Alt. Okay, and what this is doing now is it's creating a customized expression. And all you're going to do is delete the expression that's currently there, press time, star, and 10, and then press enter. And now if I play that back, we have this really cool like movement happening with that noise, okay? Don't ask me how that works in terms of the expression. Just do it, and you'll have this exact look right here, and you should be good to go. All right. Yeah. Hogue, remember the old notebooks that had a cover that looked like fractal noise? Absolutely. Composition notebooks, RIP, but I still use them, so they're pretty awesome. All right, so the second thing we're going to do now is we're going to go onto each of these text layers, and we're going to add these effects, okay? So we're going to add this thing called a displacement map. Again, don't question the effect, just do it because it looks really, really cool. And again, this will be just helpful creating those templates in the future. Okay, so double click on tip. So that's our first text here. We're going to hide this layer. And then if you go up to the effects controls, you'll see that there's a source of where we want that layer to sort of be taking that effect from. So all we're going to do is change this to the red solid. Let's turn this back on. Oops. Let's go tip. Where are we going here? Where are we going here? Let's just do this. Source to red solid. Why are we not getting that right now? What is happening here? This tends to happen every once in a while, gang, for some reason. Let's reset that, actually. Let's just see, oh, you know what? Let's actually make this, I think we need to pre-compose this layer first before we do anything. So I'm gonna go in here and pre-compose. That's what I'm forgetting. And just keep this as a pre-composition, okay? And then we have it hidden. And let's try that one more time. All right, it looks like that actually worked. Sweet. All right, let's turn this to like half so it plays back nicely. Cool, so you can see that in adding that displacement map, I'm gonna delete that and do that one more time so you can see it. We're adding this displacement map on our text, okay? And then we're showing it and we're saying, let's use this solid comp above to sort of take those effects, all right? And so if I play that back, we have this really cool, like, cartoony, wiggly effect, all right? And so we can adjust some of these, like, how it displaces on here a little bit more. So I might take this to, like, 10, so you can see that that actually does something a little bit cooler, and 8. So I like to sort of offset some of these effects on each one of the texts. I think that's actually a little too much. So you're just playing around with what you think looks best. Let's go 6 and 8, all right? Now we're just gonna do the exact same thing to our other text. Click displacement map, and then we're gonna change that layer source to the same comp here. All right, so as you can see, again, like a learning curve, you have to pre-compose that for solid or else it doesn't seem like this effect's gonna work. So again, just follow along with me. We're gonna now create sort of our mogrt out of the effects that we already have here. All right, save your work. Cool, so I like the way this is looking. I wanna actually adjust this a little bit more as well. And cool, let's maybe tweak this top, all right? And so now they're like slightly offset, so they don't really wiggle in the exact same way. So that's your first step of how to go about creating this. If everyone's following me, let me know in the comments. Wiggle effect, Sean, would make the same results. I believe that they would. Again, this is just one way to do this. There's so many different ways to create this effect. A lot of resources on YouTube that I've seen in the past. This is just a way that I like to do it. I think it's a little more customizable. Yes, alrighty. We're going to keep on rolling here. All right, so now that we have this effect, we're going to create our mogrt. Okay, so it's very important to create null objects or null layers to do this properly, because you want to, inside of our template here, if I open up my Essential Graphics window, inside of my template here, you have a lot of different properties. You have position and shape and rotation and all those things. If we create the animation itself, let's say we create like a scale animation on the text by itself, we can't then add that property into our mogrt because it's already animated. So creating a null layer allows us to create those animations on that null and then still manipulate the different properties inside of Premiere on the mogrt. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we're going to create our null. So null object, we're just going to call this like null tip. And I like to like label these so I know that they're both like the same null here. Okay, so we're going to drag this under here, and then I'm going to basically pick whip or parent this to the null. Okay, so now anything we do to this null layer, basically like an invisible layer, is going to be affecting our text here. All right, we're going to do the same thing here for the next guy. I hope everyone is following along here. I know this is a little bit more detailed, but as I said, we got into more detail as the month went on. So hopefully we're at that stage where we can kind of understand this, okay? Same thing, pick whip this, and let's just change the label color here. Sweet. Those like do not look like a peach color at all. Purple, and let's just change these to like something a little brighter green. All right. So now let's just add one more thing. Let's add a shape layer behind all this. Okay, so let's just take this shape layer, which is sort of what we have. I'm going to double click this so our anchor point's set in the center of it, which we have. And then I'm going to drag the shape layer to the bottom. Let's just kind of adjust this so it looks good. All right, and then I'm going to pre-compose this shape layer as well. All right, now we're going to take our null and we're going to animate, let's just animate the scale property. Okay, so we come in here, press save. All right, we're going to set our keyframe, and then we're going to move up, let's say like 6 frames, set another keyframe, and then we're going to go up a little bit further. And I just like to create something that sort of bounces as it comes in. All right, so the first keyframe we're going to set is 0. And then our next one, J and K are a great little shortcut to go to your next keyframes, so you don't have to like manually click them. And we're going to make this one a little bit bigger, so let's say like 150. Okay, and then we're going to go to the end, and this is already going to be set at 100. Right, so if we play that back, okay, it looks like pretty basic, and you can see that our anchor point is not in the center because we never set the null anchor point. So what I'm going to do is hold Y. I'm going to drag this to the center, and now that scale should come in. Okay, we're going to adjust the position a little bit so that we're in line, and now that animation should pop right in the way we want it. All right, and I'm going to add a couple little ease properties here. Easy out, easy in. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight these, and we're going to come down to our graph editor window, and we're just going to drag the Bezier handles in a little bit to create something that is like just looks a little bit more visually appealing. It's a little bit quicker. I think this actually could be faster still. So we're going to drag this in. Cool. So that's a really quick little like animation there, and I want to just basically do the exact same thing to the next title here. All right, so how's everyone doing here in the chat? Yeah, we got Evan Abrams up next, who is honestly a master at all things After Effects. It looks like he's in the chat. Few wiggles, but if we applied something like wiggle expression, absolutely, yeah. Evan, please feel free to chime in here. I have learned so much from you watching your videos in the past in After Effects that have just been so valuable. So what a wealth of knowledge that guy is. All right, so we're gonna just copy and paste our effect here on our next property. And we actually want to put that on the null layer, right? So if we play that back, let's actually move this over. And I want to sort of like offset these a little bit. I want tip to come in, and then I want 1 to come in. All right, so we're gonna move our nulls down. Cool, that's looking pretty nice. All right, so very simple. We just created a really, really simple little like, little animation that we can continue to use and refine, okay? So the goal here is to create all of these properties so that we can customize them and change them whenever we want inside of Premiere Pro. We can change the text, the font, the size, the position, all those things. But we want to preserve is the effect. We want to preserve sort of this composition. So the way we're going to do that, I'm going to close this so you can see where it's from. If you don't see this in your project, you're going to go up to Window, Essential Graphics, and you'll see that I've already created this. But all you're going to do, this would be empty, is you're going to go to Primary and you're going to select the composition you want to create a mogrt out of. In this case, we have mogrt Adobe Live, okay? And then all you're going to do is solo the supported properties. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up all these properties that are supported for a motion graphics template, okay? And so the first thing you want to do is drag your source text. Okay, your source text is going to be how you adjust the name, how you change the name of whatever it is that you want to write inside of Premiere Pro. So you're just going to drag and drop this. Okay, so now we have tip. All right, so we have our source text. Then what I want to do is I want to drag all of these transform properties on here that I can affect and change in Premiere. And the reason we added that null is if we were to actually animate these properties, we wouldn't be able to add them to that motion graphics template. Okay, and the one other thing I want to add is an effect over here in the right panel. You can either use fill or tint. I like to use fill, and this allows you to then change the color. So it obviously changed the color here. I'm just going to change this back to my yellow, but we can now drag that effect. If we scroll down our window, drag the color, and we can drag the opacity. So now all of these features or properties are inside of our motion graphics template that we can then save and use inside of Premiere Pro. The thing I like to do is add a group to keep these organized. So we're just going to call this like text 1, and then we're just going to drag all these things into the group. Okay, probably should have done the group first, but we're a little short on time here, so we're trying to make the best of it. Okay, how do we got? We got about like 5 minutes left. Okay, I don't know why that looks so weird. And this is our source text. All right, so we're going to drag the color and the opacity above. So we have our source text. If I go to edit properties, this allows you to enable all the fonts and the style. So if I press OK, now we can change the font, we can change the size, we can change all these different things, and it just allows you a lot more flexibility when you're inside of Premiere Pro. Alrighty. We're going to keep it rolling here, gang. Keep it rolling. Okay. Let's just make sure we are looking good. Okay. Then we're going to do the exact same thing to the next text. Okay. So we have our one here. We're going to drag source text. We are going to drag the positions of all these things. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a fill on top of it. And we're just going to change the color. Okay, and we're going to drag the color, and we're going to drag the opacity, because I like to turn the color down maybe and not make it as bright. All right, so here's our, oops, I'm going to close that. And let's add another group. Okay, and this is going to be called text 2. Again, I probably should have just done that initially, but we're trying to do this quickly here today so that we get everything in that we want to address. Okay, so I always like to keep my source text up at the top because that's like really the first thing that you're going to actually be seeing. Oops, these are actually going in here. Silly James. Okay. All right, here we go. Getting a little confusing here because I have too many things going on. All right. Okay. And this is going to be our text here. Rotation, anchor point, tip opacity goes in there. All right. And then our fill color. Okay. So now we have all of these. Let's move this down somewhere in here. Fill color. All right. So we have both these text grouped, ready to go, okay? And then the last thing I want to do, press U on my keyboard, is go in here to my shape layer, okay? And I want to take the transform property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add that transform property here, okay? And then we're going to go to the effects up here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag like scale. We are going to drag the rotation. Let's just drag opacity. and maybe position. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the fill property. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is I'm adding the effect so that I can actually create that effect, you know, and change the color moving forward, right? So we've already seen that this is changing. Let's just change that color. All right, we're going to go to fill, color, and we're going to do the same thing, opacity. Okay, so group, and we're just going to call this shape. All right, so you can see how all these properties are able to be selected, to be changed in Premiere, and that's the idea. We want to be able to do all those things. Okay, we've now created the guts of our mogrt, or you know, the part of our mogrt that we want to actually save and export as a motion graphics template. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is set a poster frame, and the reason I do that is you can see in here, I can then just very easily scroll to my Essential Graphics window and see the thumbnail of what I'm going to actually be using. Okay, so we've set our thumbnail. We're going to name this, right? So let's call this like wiggly effect. I have so many of these wiggly effects, version 1. Okay, and then all you're going to do is you're going to export this motion graphics template. Okay, save the project. That does help. And then you can save it to, you know, your libraries folder. You can save it to a local drive. I like to just save it to my local templates. If you wanted to further customize it, you can go into keywords and save those things. We're just going to press OK. All right. Now, we don't even have to quit out of Premiere Pro. We are in the beta version, but this would be fine in the public version as well. Okie doke, okie doke, okie doke, everyone. Okie doke. All right. And all we're going to do is then drag this. We see our mogrt is here. Okay, we're going to drag this into our timeline. And now, just like that, let's come in here and adjust this scale. I made it a little bit bigger. If I click this and I go over to my edit window, you'll see that all of those properties that we just made are customizable and able to be changed here. So let's say I wanted to change the fill color, okay, of the text. Boom. Now we have dark text, okay? Let's say I wanted to change the font. I can change the font of any of these properties here just by clicking inside that text. It's so customizable, okay? You can change the anchor point position. We can change the scale. We can change the opacity. And we can do that for every one of these properties. The reason I like doing this, like, let's just change the name. So we're going to call this Adobe Live, okay? Because that's what we're here doing today. All right, I want to make this small. So we're going to change it to Adobe. And then let's go down to live. Let's change this. Okay, let's bring this up. For some reason, wiggly effect. I think maybe the size is a little different because of my composition window size right now. Let's just go over here to my sequences. Guys, we're just figuring this out as we go, you know. We all make mistakes here. We're all trying our best. 1080 by 1920. That should be... That's interesting. That shouldn't be the case. Okay. If you go here, mogrt Adobe Live, if we go to our sequence settings, 1080 by 1920. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what's going on with this size here, but again, like you can come in here and you can just change this size to whatever you need it to be. So let's go like 450. Okay. We move our position over. So you get the idea. You can continue to customize this. Okay, you can go to your box color here. We can change our fill color. And if you have a library set up, which I do here in the corner with like sort of my favorite colors that I go to for my work to keep that brand consistent, I can come in here, use my little eyedropper. Let's say we want the background to be this like different color blue, or maybe we want it to be dark, and then we want to change all of this to white. We can do all of that. Okay, the world is our oyster inside of Premiere Pro and After Effects. And yeah, you can continue to adjust these colors as you see fit, and you can move this all around anywhere you need it. Okay, so let's say we're happy with this. I actually want to take the position of my box here, and I want to take the scale down because now we have maybe a smaller title. All right, so here's my property. And let's say I want to drag it up here in the beginning. Okay, that looks pretty cool. And I want to make this smaller. Rather than coming in here and making every single one of these smaller, we now have the same global parameters inside of our graphics window that we would on any other layer. So you can just come in here, and now this adjusts the scale and the position to this mogrt globally, and you can continue to update it as you need to figure it out. Okay, so I know there's a lot sort of back in After Effects, back into Premiere. But I promise, once you sort of get the hang of creating these different effects inside of After Effects, create mogurts and create custom templates that work for you, it's a great place to create lower thirds and just another tool in our toolkit to speed up our workflow, make it more efficient, and just enhance the final product and make it look that much better. Okay, so I believe with that, we are wrapping it up here today. Again, thank you so much to everyone that joined me on the stream today. Thank you to those that followed along with the entire weekly creative challenge. As I mentioned, those starter files are going to be in the link in the description, either here on Behance or on YouTube. I believe I got this one up a little bit later today, but this is one of those ones where it was easier maybe to follow along than it was to have them downloaded. Thank you again, Cody, Jack, Evan. I'm stoked to watch Evan's stream after this. Again, wizard of After Effects, and everyone here in the community. It is such a wonderful place to learn, to inspire, to be inspired, and to create with you all. So I appreciate the opportunity for you all allowing me to be on here and teach you the little things that I do know inside of these two programs and video as a whole. So again, thank you very much. If you aren't subscribed to the Adobe Creative Cloud and the Adobe Live YouTube channel, please make sure to do so. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. I will be back here on Friday for a slightly different stream, but hope to be back on here soon, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Take care, everyone.